Dear God, Heavenly Father, angels and ancestors, I ask that whatever you ask me to bring forth today, that you help me with this message and help me to remain calm and keep my composure. And I hope that this message reaches who it's supposed to reach and that they be blessed. So it is, Ashe. I am so happy to be here. My name is Mary Elizabeth Woodard. I am a mom, I'm a nurse, and I'm a Reiki master too. And so I want to share my story with you about my healing journey through breast cancer. So I'm so happy to share my story today. I have to start off by saying I'm a nurse. And we all know what we went through in 2020. So 2020 spent time taking care of everybody, doing what we needed to do during COVID and having the surges, get through the holiday season. And my boss, after we come back, she says, hey, everyone, we're ramping down with COVID. Make sure you're taking care of yourself and make sure you go get all your testing done. And I was like, let me just get my appointments together. And so I started lining up my appointments, my wellness checkups. So about April, I was like, oh, it's time for my well woman's exam. I go have my mammography as normal. And I think that was April 6th. So they call me and they say, oh, we see, a little bit of density. So you need to go and have an ultrasound done. I don't think anything of it because I've had an ultrasound before. After a mammogram, no big deal. So fast forward, they call me again and they're like, okay, we see 2 spots and you need to go and have a biopsy completed. So I go on April 21st to get my biopsy and there were actually 2 spots. So about a week later, I actually get a call at work. It was April 26th. I'm sitting at work and I get the phone call and I was told that I have cancer. And the word cancer, I don't know about anybody else, but for me, it literally struck fear in my heart because the first person I thought about was my 6-year-old daughter. And I have to say, it's only been 2 years, but it's still a process for me. And that's okay because I'm going to move through this how I need to move through this. So I picked myself up off the floor at work. Now, mind you, I work in a hospital, so I don't know what I'm panicking for. I'm like, I know I'm at the best place that I can receive care in the world. But something about that word cancer, I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? I don't know what to do. Who do I call? Where do I go? I reached out to a friend who had navigated this journey before me, another nurse. And she said, this is who you call, this is where you go, this is what you need to do. I call the oncologist and I get set up for the appointment. I call the surgeon, I get set up for that appointment. And a lot of people think, and I like to share this part of my story because the other thing I thought about was my hair. I done spent $1,200 on my locks. And I'm like, I'm going to lose my hair. And so the first time she was like, oh, no, you'll be fine. We're just going to do a small procedure and just cut out the cancer. And then you'll have radiation. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm not going to lose my hair. It's going to be fine. I'm going to be great. And I have my surgery on June 30th. Everything comes back and I was told that they didn't get all the cancer. I needed to have another surgery. So I had to process this yet again. And they said, well, we can do this and then see how it goes and see if we can get get the rest of the cancer out. And I just said, at this point, I said, I don't want to keep having multiple surgeries. I asked for a mastectomy. So I asked him to remove the entire breast because, like I said, I had a 6-year-old daughter and I didn't want to keep going under. So I fast forward to July and I have my entire breast removed. Now, anybody who knows me, all I have is breasts. And so that was my pride and joy. So I had to process that. But then I had to think to myself, what a beautiful blessing that I can get a prosthesis. I can still be a woman. I'm still a woman. And most importantly, I'm still alive. So I go and I have my surgeries. I'm done and I'm all finished. And I'm going to the oncologist. I'm thinking, woo, I'm done. And she's like, oh, we're not done. You have to do 4 cycles of chemotherapy. So this is where I want y'all to lean in. So if you ever have to share this with someone, lean into this, because you don't have to lose your hair. There's an awesome company where I did cold capping, and it was a process where I got to wear a cold cap. So I had 4 cycles of chemotherapy, meaning I had chemotherapy for 4 months. And every time I went to chemotherapy, I put a cap on my head. It froze my scalp and my hair to my head. But the beautiful thing was I lost a little bit of hair, but it kept my hair follicles. So as you can see, I got all my locks back. My loctician was able to put them back. So I share this because the first thing you need to do is make sure you get your screenings. It is so important, because if you catch it early, you can survive, you can live, you can beat this thing, and you don't have to do it alone. The second thing is that you don't have to lose your hair. You may lose some in the process, but you can get it back. So you don't have to worry about that if you have to do the chemotherapy. And so I will tell you the whole process for me, it lasted from April to November. And that's significant for me because it's 7 months. And for me, numbers are really crucial. So 7 is the number of completion. I was diagnosed in April with invasive ductal carcinoma stage 2. I'm here 2 years later, and I'll be celebrating my birthday November 4th next month. And I'm celebrating. I am not a survivor. I'm a thriver. I'm doing what I need to do, and I'm so glad I get to share this message, because it's important to take care of yourself. It's important to pour into your cup before you pour out to anybody else. Go get your screening. I can tell you, when I first received my diagnosis, I was scared, and even working in the healthcare field, it's like, what do I do? What am I supposed to do? Like, how are you supposed to behave? And you're supposed to put this brave front on, not just as a healthcare provider, but as an African American woman, you are to hold your head high and push forward and always be strong. And I had to smile in front of my daughter, and I had to be happy. And my mom was also with me at the time, and so I didn't want her to worry. So there were many times where I would pretend like I was okay. At the very beginning, I was angry because things weren't lining up how I thought they should have been lining up. Like, I thought, I got my diagnosis, I should have surgery right away, I should be done with this immediately. And so really my first surgery wasn't until June. And I was so mad. And I was like, well, why can't I get this surgeon? Because I wanted this surgeon, and I wanted this plastic surgeon, and I wanted it right there. And I was literally at the hospital angry. And for a second, I had to stop, because also remembering who I was spiritually, that sense of entitlement and that anger was not helping me at all. And so I had to step back into a space of gratitude. And I felt like once I stepped back into that space of gratitude and thank you, God, for catching it early. Thank you that I have the option of whatever surgeon, whatever oncologist, whatever plastic surgeon I wanted to see. Actually, Houston Methodist Hospital is amazing. It's great. It's a wonderful facility. And once I did that, and I said, "You got it, God. I'm done fighting. I'm just gonna surrender." And when I remember walking down the hallway, I had that moment, and it was just like, okay, I got a phone call. You have surgery on this day. You can go and see this plastic surgeon on this day. It all started lining up. And I'm glad I was asked to share the emotion, because I almost forgot about that important piece. And to me, I've learned that gratitude really is so important. The other thing is I also changed my mindset about breast cancer. Like, what does it mean to me on a spiritual level? And for me, I would have to say I wasn't loving myself. I was loving everybody else and pouring so much into them. My cup was empty. I was running dry. And at that moment, when you're in a space where you need help, there are days where couldn't get out of bed. You know, there are days where, you know, you're so tired you can't even wash yourself up. And I had to ask for help and allow people to help me, because that's not what a space where I was in. So I began to call it my healing journey. And so I still call it my healing journey, because it really, I feel like it cracked me open, and it did show me that people do love me. People do care about me, because sometimes you create a story that you're not loved. But I saw that I was loved, I was cared for, and I was well taken care of. And so I would have to say, once I hit that corner of being grateful, everything else was easy. It flowed. I didn't have to worry about work. I didn't have to worry about what I was going to eat. I didn't have to worry about, all I had to worry about was getting better. So that was a beautiful space for me, and I can definitely say, if you step into a place of surrender and releasing control and being grateful, it will all work out. Everything will be good. Because if you sit in a place of stress, it's not going to get better. I feel like it's going to make things worse. I will say the next thing I would love to talk about is my diagnosis, my prognosis, and where I am today. So I had invasive ductal carcinoma, stage 2. Initially, I was told that all I had to do was a lumpectomy and radiation. So a lumpectomy is a simple cutting out of that diseased tissue. And I thought I was going to be good. So had the surgery. I'm thinking everything is great. Well, not exactly. Comes back, you need to have another surgery. So we can, you know, cut out some more of the cancer tissue and you'll probably be okay. And I had to think about it, because, you know, as a nurse, I'm like, I don't want to keep going under. So we went on ahead and I asked him to do the mastectomy. So I did the mastectomy, and like I said, I'm feeling like, okay, I'm a nurse, I'm done. We don't have to do anything else. So she's like, no, we have to do chemotherapy. And I didn't understand it, and it took me a while to process it, because I thought I was going to escape clean through my healing journey with no chemo. Don't ask. And she said, no, the reason why we have to do chemo is because sometimes, you know, when you cut the tissue off, those cells like to hide in your bones. And you don't want that to happen later on down the line, 5 or 10 years later, that you end up with bone cancer. So I said, okay, I guess we'll do phase 2. So chemo was scary. Chemo was scary for me, because nobody wants to do chemotherapy. But we walked through that process, and everybody was great. I had a lot of help during that process. And so I thought that I was going to be finished after the chemo. Well, not exactly. So the part of the breast cancer that I had, my cancer was feeding off of estrogen. So I had estrogen positive receptors, which meant for me, with my, at that time, 45-year-old self, got thrown into menopause. I was like, wait a minute, I'm still young. So, and I had to ask, I said, why do I have to, you know, take another medication? And so basically I had to suppress my estrogen hormone in order to increase my survival rate by, you know, 5 or 10 years. So right now I'm 2 years out. I'm still cancer free. I still have to have one more surgery. But overall I'm pretty good. I'm fairly healthy. I have my little aches and pains, but I won't complain, because I'm still here on this side of the grass, and I still get to enjoy my friends and my family and my little girl, Ayana.